Real quick, on my second channel, I did a Last Airbender video. I ranked the characters, and you can find that in the description or the pinned comment of this vid. So apparently this is a Bleacher Report reaction channel at the moment. I'm just gonna ride into it, I guess. Future Hall of Famers on current teams. Vince Carter. Yeah. I think Vince's career is interesting to look at, but at the moment, just thinking about is he going to make the Hall of Fame, he definitely will. We could say that Trae Young has laid the foundation pieces for making the Hall of Fame based on his second season of averaging 30 a game or whatever. The other interesting one is John Collins. If you make me pick, I would say no, but at the same time, it's not like the Basketball Hall of Fame is insanely difficult to get into, if we're being honest. But Collins would need probably some team success to go his way, because if you're just going to put up the points and whatever, but the Hawks are never that great, and in turn he doesn't make all-star games or all-NBA things or whatever, then that could hurt him. I guess one thing to think about with Trae Young when it comes to all-NBA stuff is that it's going to be tough to get a whole bunch of those, because, I mean, you look at it, like, he's going to be dealing with Luka, Steph for a few more years, Dame, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Chris Paul's still going, Westbrook, Ja Morant is going to be a guard in contention for that for a while. I mean, right there, like Trae Young, Ja Morant, and Luka, you can't have three guys make All-NBA first team for guard for the next 12 years, you know? And there's probably other guards that I'm just not thinking of off the top of my head like that, but yeah. Now, even so, Trae's going to make all-star games and that sort of thing, so we kind of assume he'll get there. We move on to the Celtics. Kemba Walker and Jayson Tatum. I mean, with Kemba, I think it's going to depend a little more on the next couple of years, because, I mean, for one, he wasn't that good for the first 4 years of his career. Now, this all being said, Kemba's college career is certainly going to be helping him with this, because he was great at UConn and he had a crazy tournament run and all that stuff. In the case of Tatum, I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, we're going to talk about the competition for all NBA guards for the forwards. I mean, you're dealing with Giannis, Kawhi, PG, Zion, Brandon Ingram, Jaren Jackson, Pascal Siakam. Those are a couple more there, so you're going to need at least a few of those to make it. Now, he does have the benefit of being on the Celtics, Tatum, because, well, voters love the Celtics, let's just be honest here. So, that might be a little bit of a benefit for him in terms of all-star appearances and all that, but also Tatum's just really, really good, so. No Jaylen Brown shout-out. 20 points a game after his third season, who knows? Maybe Jaylen will be in the Hall of Very Good. We'll have to see there. Gordon Hayward, I don't think so. I feel like if Hayward had a chance, it would have required him to not snap his leg in two, because he basically missed 2 seasons out of that, and when you're already kind of a fringe Hall of Fame guy, that can be the thing that leaves you out. 15% chance for Kemba, according to Basketball Reference. I would imagine if Kemba just simply has a normal enough rest of his career, like if Kemba averages 22, 23 a game for another 5 years, makes like at least 2 All-Star games, a couple All-NBA things on top of the college stuff, I feel like that would be enough for him. But again, this is coming from the fact that the Basketball Hall of Fame is not tricky to get in. To get into, assuming you're already like really good and you have a decent long career. KD and Kyrie, there's not much to really say. They're both gonna make it. So we got our first depressing one. The Hornets was 0. I mean, let's think about this. If Devontae Graham figures out his 2-point percentage and has a long career, potentially. Miles Bridges, maybe. PJ Washington, any of those guys. I mean, if you're forced to pick, you probably say no to all 3 of these dudes. But I mean, nah, I probably don't mean anything. Like, that's, yeah. And shout out to Hornets fans. Eventually you guys will get a superstar, okay? It'll happen at some point, I promise you. The Bulls was 0. I mean, Levine is like the one where you think about it. And they've at least got him here in the Rising Stars. I mean, look, he put together a damn good season, 25, 5-4. But they're probably going to have to win some, because that way Levine will really get into the All-Star game and everything. And there's still arguments about if Levine actually makes your team better because of his playmaking, his defense, and sometimes he takes some bad shots. If you were super in on the Markkanen train, then I mean, this year certainly didn't help the case for him if you were going to project him as a future Hall of Fame dude. Are there any Hall of Famers? Well, there's definitely one. Well, there's probably a couple now that I think about it. But how many Hall of Famers are there where they didn't really start becoming that guy until about their 4th or 5th season or so? There's going to be one later. It'll be Lowry. And I also think of Steve Nash in that regard. So it's happened before, but it's tough. In the case of Wendell and Kobe White, I mean, Kobe White was dropping 20 a game when the season ended, maybe. Kevin Love, Cavs. Yeah, Kevin Love probably makes it. I picture Kevin Love making a Hall of Fame speech, and it would be one of those things where his career, how would it be looked at, Like, would he be looked at as the stat stuffer who didn't really win until he got with LeBron? I don't know, maybe depending on how Kevin Love's career ends, like maybe if he had one other playoff run with some team, then perhaps he could be looked on a little more positively. Not to say that his career won't be looked at positively, it's just, it'll be one of those things where it's like he'll get voted in and we'll be like, oh yeah, Kevin Love made the Hall of Fame, alright, cool. That's another thing where it's like, if this was the Baseball Hall of Fame, whoever the equivalent to Kevin Love is probably doesn't make it. In the case of Andre Drummond, the thing with Drummond that's weird is like he might end up being the all-time leader in rebounds, or very high on the all-time list at least. And part of me is scared that he'll make it just based off of that. We're already 7 minutes in. I gotta go a little faster here. Luka, he'll make the Hall of Fame. KP, if he stays healthy, it's possible. That's the thing with KP, if he can just hold up, in my opinion. Jokic. Yeah, assuming Jokic doesn't get hurt, he'll make the Hall of Fame. Millsap, he would need some crazy, like, finals MVP, like Iguodala-esque thing to do it. As for the rest of the guys, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., I would err on the side of no, but it's a little bit of a wait and see. Jokic will probably make the Hall of Fame. He's going to be, like, the best passing big ever. Blake, and this is an interesting one, Blake and Derrick Rose. I mean, with Blake, there's a chance we've seen the last of Blake Griffin, man. Like, he barely played this season. He might still get in just off of that. He was also great in his 1 year at Oklahoma. That matters. The Derrick Rose one, how old is Derrick Rose? Do they say it here, how old D Rose is at this point? He's 31. I mean, if D Rose has a really good 4 years on a good team, so he'd probably have to get traded or signed somewhere after this season, maybe, but even then, I don't picture him making an all-star team or any all-NBA things, so I don't know, man. It's a depressing thought, but D Rose really just, he might not be a Hall of Famer. It's the way it goes, and it's rough sometimes. Steph and Clay, yeah, they'll get in. Although Clay's like a little more interesting, but he'll probably get in. Draymond, I think with Draymond, I don't know, like his peak is certainly a Hall of Fame player, but he might not last long enough, That dude's on the decline, so he's going to have to be in great shape, and it's not a guarantee if Draymond will be in great shape, I do want to use them. Well, actually, never mind. We'll get to Iguodala when we get to Miami. Harden and Westbrook will make the Hall of Fame. That's an easy one. Is there anybody else in the roster to think about? No. Pacers, 0. I mean, Sabonis, depending on where his career goes, and Oladipo, I mean, before the injury, it looked like he had a shot. Sabonis still has time for us to figure out if he can really be a Hall of Fame player. I mean, what did he put up this year? Like 17, 14, and 5 assists or something? I think for Sabonis, it'll be interesting to see if Indiana just gives him the whole offense. I don't know if that's possible to do with Miles Turner still on the roster, because while Turner is a bit of a stretch big, it's not like he's never in the paint for Sabonis to just finish at the basket, you know what I mean? In the case of Oladipo, we just don't know if he's healthy. That's pretty much that. Clippers, Kawhi and PG, yep. Is there anybody else in the roster? Beverly, no. Lou Will, no. Probably not with Lou Will. Yeah, it would be these two, and they're definitely going to make it. LeBron, AD, Dwight. Yeah, that's an easy one for all three. Rondo is the one to think about for 4 seconds. I don't think Rondo gets in, although according to this, he's got a 40% chance. I mean, he did, 5 All-Star appearances? Something like that? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so with Rondo. Ja Morant, based on his first season, yeah, certainly. Is Ja Morant going to make the All-Star team next year? I don't know. But it's another thing to think about, right? It's like he's going to be competing, we're talking specifically in the West, he's going to be competing with Luka, Dame, Harden and Westbrook for a few more years. De'Aaron Fox, Devin Booker, a lot of really good guards in the West. Donovan Mitchell, another one. So those All-Star appearances and that stuff, it's going to be tough to make it, and if you don't have those, it makes it tough to get into the Hall of Fame. So that's the thing to look for. But assuming he is good enough to where the Grizzlies are just going to keep winning, then yeah. What are the chances of Jaren Jackson? I mean, his three-point shooting took a real jump this year, so if he's going to be a three-point shooting finisher who can switch across all 5 positions, then potentially, but it's going to be tough in the West to get the recognition as well. I mean, he's going to be competing with Zion, we know that much, for, front court, all-star appearances and that sort of thing. Jimmy on Miami. It's a tough one. What's Jimmy, 30 years old? Something like that? Jimmy probably gets in there, assuming he doesn't get hurt. The one that I wanted to talk about was Iguodala. So Iguodala, he probably doesn't get in. The Finals MVP is huge, but I think he's got no All-NBA appearances and 1 All-Star game. That's just not enough. I think he's deserving of 7 or 8 All-Defense appearances, but you didn't get it, so there you go. In the case of Bam, I think it's too early to really tell. The question with Bam is if the shooting is going to go to another level. Everybody claims that he can make threes, but we haven't seen it yet, so it's either that or he's going to be amazing from mid-range, which could be something. Besides that, is one of the NBA's best passing and defensive big men, certainly. I mean, he might be right there with Jokic in terms of best passing bigs when he's done, but still a little iffy on Bam. Giannis, yeah. Does Middleton have a shot? I feel like the only case for Middleton is if he gets a bunch of All-Star appearances because their team is really good and he maintains the 50, 40, 90 stuff for 6 years or so. That's a little bit of a fringe one. Giannis, yeah, he'll make the Hall of Fame. We all know that one. Towns. What are Towns' chances of being the all-time leading scorer? Because I know for a second they were a little possible. He did miss a stretch of games this year, and maybe that'll be the thing that stops him. But Towns doesn't really get hurt. He played 82 games, multiple times already, so that's certainly going to help his case. The thing that could hurt his case is that, well, I mean, you only get 3 centers for the all-center thing in the NBA. And assuming he makes a decent amount of All-Star games, that it could be tough, maybe Towns is, typically Towns is going to be no worse than, the 4th best center in the NBA or something. But you oppose that to a guard. If you're the 4th best guard in the NBA, you've got 1 million All-NBA appearances. If you're a center, you potentially have 0. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you're competing with Bam and Jokic, and we'll see with Embiid if he's going to be healthy and all that stuff, but I have to believe Towns will make the Hall of Fame, but it's still interesting to think about nonetheless. In the case of D'Angelo Russell, I don't know. We go on to the Pelicans. Zion for sure. Well, not for sure. We don't know if he's going to be healthy, but and assuming he will be, yeah. Ingram is something to talk about. I mean, he just took off as a player. I guess he would be another example of a guy who 3 years in didn't look like it, and then potentially, for as much as I love Lonzo, I don't. I don't think that'll happen. I don't know. Ingram's a tricky one. Don't really know. I'll tell you this much. If Ingram maintains 25 a game for a long time, certainly got a case. I mean, maybe he'll be looked at as a Kevin Martin type of dude where he put up a lot of points, but the all-around game wasn't totally there. But even then, like, his rebounds and his passing were not bad this season, and I still think Ingram can be a really good defender, or at least above average because of the length and all that, you know? So we'll see with them. Knicks, oh boy. I mean, maybe with RJ, maybe with Mitchell Robinson. Like, look, if you gave Mitchell Robinson Tom Thibodeau, could he not be like a Hall of Fame defensive big guy? Maybe. In the case of RJ, he's probably not a good enough playmaker. Like, I think RJ's an off guard. One who can handle the ball, but leading your offense, I don't know. CP, yep. Shea is the one to look at for them, yeah. I don't know, with Shea it's too early. Based on what has happened in Shea's career so far, I would kind of feel like, I don't know, man. Like, he's good, but being in the West, again, so many guards you got to compete with for all-star appearances and all-NBA nods, and if you don't have that stuff, yeah, I feel like I'm saying the same thing with that, but it's the way it is. Orlando, nah, man. Jonathan Isaac's making the Hall of Fame. He's going to get like 3 Defensive Player of the Years. He's going to get like 9 all-defense appearances. He's going to average 17 a game for his career. That's my hot take. Jonathan Isaac, Hall of Fame player. There you go. Embiid and Simmons. Yeah, I mean, with Embiid, it's a matter of if he's going to play hard and if he's going to be healthy. If he is, then yeah, certainly. Well, I don't know about certainly, because the case that I made for Towns with the all-NBA centers could be made for Embiid as well. I didn't have Embiid for all-NBA this year, or at least not for the first 2 teams. Might have had him for third team, but a big part of that was games played. In the case of Simmons... So with Simmons, I mean, it depends, like the team around him and everything, but can you make the Hall of Fame if you average 17, 9, and 9 for your career? I don't know, man. I feel like Simmons would have to creep into the 20s. But at the same time, if the hardware is there, in terms of All-NBA and All-Star appearances, then you probably still get in anyway. I don't know. That's an interesting one. The case of Horford, I mean, the college stuff would be the way he got in. He does have some international trophies, but they're like amateur league stuff. I had a tweet talking about Horford's Hall of Fame chances, but I don't really stand by now. I mean, the thing with Horford, it's like, can you just be very good under the radar for a decade plus and make the Hall of Fame? Probably not, we're being honest. No nod for Devin Booker? I think Booker's got a shot. He averaged like 27 a game this previous year. I mean, the whole guard spiel I keep saying applies to him too, certainly. It's tough in the West, but he's one of those guards who makes it difficult, you know? In the case of DeAndre Ayton, no. If you force me to pick now, I don't think DeAndre Ayton is a Hall of Fame guy. Ricky Rubio, I mean, in a different timeline maybe, if he was able to really be a point guard and run the show for a team, but I don't know, there's a chance Rubio just, his destiny was always to be just kind of what he's become, you know? Melo, yeah. Dame, yeah. Those are pretty easy. Dame is at 70%? Am I surprised that it's that high? I don't know, he's been amazing for a while now. I don't think anybody else for them. Sacramento, the team just needs to make sense, you know? Like, I feel like they need a second playmaker. They need Bagley to be healthy. And then the case for Fox and potentially Hield would be a lot better, but until all that stuff happens, I don't know. Like, part of it is, like, the front office sucks and all that, but another thing is, like, they have gotten unlucky with injuries and whatever else. The fact that Buddy Hield just became a year older certainly didn't help them either. And you know what I mean on that one. Like, of course, everybody gets a year older. I'm going to move on. That was a joke that is now backfired on me. 51% for LaMarcus. That's interesting. I thought it'd be a little higher. I feel like LaMarcus is one of those guys who you don't really think about, and then you look up when his career is over, and it's like, oh yeah, he's probably a Hall of Famer. Kind of similar to the Kevin Love thing from earlier. In the case of DeMar, probably not. We move on. Yeah, Lowry is definitely a Hall of Famer. I mean, 6 All-Star appearances. Probably should have made a couple more All-NBA teams, but yeah, Lowry's like maybe the most fascinating career ever, because he spent so much of his career just being kind of okay, and then he becomes one of the better players in the league for a while. The part of it that you could have doubted would have been like if he wasn't that good this year, which I honestly kind of predicted. Like, I didn't know if his offense was still going to be good, but based on him putting up 20 a game this year, it's like he could do this for another like 3 years or something, and at that point it won't even be a conversation, you know? Especially in the East, like he might end up with like 9 All-Star appearances. Like, you're definitely in at that point. Marc Gasol. See, this is one of those things where I feel like Marc Gasol caring so much about the team success versus his own numbers hurt him. Because I think most of us would agree, like, Gasol, a Hall of Fame talent, but he put up, 16 and 7 for a lot of his career, you know? Don't know. In the case of Siakam, I mean, Siakam's clearly going to make it because the guy just has no ceiling. Like, he went from being a one-dimensional dude who just played hard to busting out dribble moves and hitting threes with a guy in his face. Like, any case you want to make for Siakam at this point, go ahead and make it. I'm not going to disagree with you at all. Utah is 0. I don't know. Mitchell still has a case. He's got to keep getting better with his playmaking and reading defenses. With Gobert, really? 2% for Gobert? Is it because he got robbed of so many All-Star appearances? Like a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Well, I say that, but Ben Wallace isn't in. So maybe Gobert has to have like a Dikembe Mutombo thing where he gets like 6 Defensive Player of the Years or whatever it is. I don't know. Who was the last one? The Wizards? I think Beal's got a good shot. John Wall, it depends on the health, man. I think this is right. Wall was heading toward a Hall of Fame career before rupturing his Achilles tendon. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, might be similar to Derrick Rose, although Wall doesn't have an MVP. So yeah, in 22 minutes, All-Star stuff. Yeah, that's it. And then once again, second channel, Last Airbender, description, pinned comment, all that stuff.